I don't know if you heard me or not, but good morning and welcome. If you're not speaking, please put your devices on mute. We're already hearing some feedback on this end. Again, if you're not speaking, please put your devices on mute.
How do you put mute?
Okay, at this time, I call to order Muskogee Creek National Council pre-agenda, September 25th, 2021, by teleconference. Time is 9:01. At this time, I'd like to ask Representative Mark Randolph to do the invocation, please.
Can you hear me, Speaker?
Yes, sir.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your many blessings and the watch care through the night, Lord. Ask that you just clear our minds, touch our hearts, guide and direct us as we do the business of the nation. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Representative Randolph.
Welcome.
Roll call, National Council Secretary Alicia Strobel.
Speaker Randall Hicks,
Present.
Mary Crawford,
Present.
Joyce Deere,
Present.
Patrick Freeman,
Here.
Joseph Hicks. Joseph Hicks.
Here.
Robert Huft,
Present.
James Jennings,
Here.
Adam Jones,
Having trouble getting on the line. I'm sending them the link again.
William Lowe,
Here.
Anna Marshall,
Present.
Charles McHenry,
Here.
Thomasine Yohola Osborne,
Present.
Darrell Crofter,
Here.
Mark Randolph,
Present.
Travis Scott,
Here.
Lucian Tiger,
Present.
Adam Jones, Speaker, you have 15 present, 1 absent.
15 present, 1 absent, constitutes a quorum. All business conducted will be official. Agenda review. Please, if you are not asked to speak or if you're not speaking, put your devices on mute, please. Agenda review. Health, Education, and Welfare, Chairman Lucian Tiger III.
Thank you, Speaker. We have no additions.
Thank you, Chairman Tiger. Land, Natural Resources, and Cultural Preservation, Chairman Mark Randolph.
For those, Speaker, we have no additions.
Thank you, Chairman Randolph. Business, Finance, and Justice, Chairman William Lowe.
Hello, Speaker. We have no additions, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Lowe. Next item on the agenda is other business. This morning, we had 2 nominee interviews. First one we have is Sharon Mouse for College of the Muskogee Nation Board of Regents. Good morning, Ms. Mouse.
Good morning.
Ms. Mouse, at this time, will you share with the National Council your education, background, and experience for this position, please?
Yes, I will. I am a graduate of Squawka Indian Boarding School, and I am a graduate of Oklahoma State University with a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in trade and industrial education. In addition, I have gone to various training seminars and sessions, and I have been on the Board of Regents for 16 years. And I have taken a few classes at the college. And I also, as an educational tool, I taught for 26 years at OSU IT.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mouse. National Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Sharon? Any questions for Ms. Mouse? Representative Jennings.
Thank you, Speaker. It's not any question, but just comments that Ms. Mouse has also served as the secretary for the Board of Regents those years that she's been on the Board of Regents and has done a great job. And so as serving as ex officio for the Board of Regents, I appreciate the job that Ms. Mouse has done for the college, and she's been a big part of their accreditation process. So I strongly support Ms. Mouse. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Jennings. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Mouse, you can just go ahead and stay online if you'd like. Right after the pre-agenda meeting, we're going to go ahead and go into our regular session agenda.
Okay, do I stay on this line?
Yes, ma'am. You can just stay on this line.
Chair Tiger, may I say something before I? You know, the college been an establishment for a while, and it is such an important part of our nation that with the students who are going there now, they are going to be the ones to maintain our sovereign status and our self-determination for our tribe, because they will be learning, and the values and the culture and the language and their studies and self-determination at the college are going to help us maintain and grow a stronger tribe as these students begin to graduate. And so far, we've graduated, I think, 439 students. And they are beginning to work for the tribe. They've come back to work for the college. And it's just a blessing to see all of this take place, and that the college is still growing and establishing or reaching its goals that it has set up for itself. So I can't believe that we have come this far already, but we are growing students who are going to be the go to college students. You know, they're going to influence their children and relatives. So this is such a enlightening experience for me to be on this board. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Mouse. Okay, going to our next nominee interview, we have Denise Henry, Black Horse Police Commission. Ms. Henry, are you online?
I am. Good morning.
Morning. Ms. Henry, at this time, will you please share with the National Council your education, background, and experience for this position, please?
Yes, sir. I am a 22-year police officer. I have from college working towards a criminal justice degree. I have over 1,100 hours of state training. I have over 200 hours of federal training. I am currently an instructor with Tulsa Tech as a criminal justice instructor teaching criminal law. I've also been selected to teach the first academy that the tech schools are having in Tulsa that starts in January. I will be a criminal law and investigator instructor for that course as well. I currently have not recently, but in the past, I've taught the criminal jurisdiction for tribal communities with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I have also taught My Body, My Life for Creek Nation to high school and junior high students. Is a safety course for young females. I am also a lethality assessment instructor for the tribe and for the state for domestic violence against women. I have been a domestic violence officer for all 22 years of my career. During my career, I have served as a city, state, tribal, and federal officer. I have served in many capacities as a patrol officer, a school resource officer, a domestic violence officer, an investigator, a corporal, a sergeant. I have also been through the FBI Leadership Academy, all three areas, all three branches, which is a command leadership, executive leadership, and supervisor leadership. I did graduate with the Trilogy Award from there. I have served on the drug task force with Tulsa County for 5 years at the beginning of my career. And I believe that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Henry.
Thank you.
National Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Henry? Any questions? Any questions? Representative McHenry.
I would like to ask, why do you want to be on this board?
I believe with my knowledge and training, I could be an asset to this commission. I do want to work for my tribe. I have always wanted to work with my tribe. I do think that I have a broad spectrum as far as working with state, tribal, and federal, that I could bring a lot to the table. And I mostly look forward to working alongside the chief and the national council and the police department.
Thank you, Representative McHenry. Any other questions? National Council.
Speaker, this is Representative Scott.
Go ahead, Representative Scott.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. During your tenure when you was employed at the Light Horse, what was your dismissal status when you were working there?
What was my dismissal status?
Yes, ma'am. Did you just voluntarily quit? Was you terminated?
I was terminated without cause. I had filed a grievance and had won the grievance at the HR level and at the Attorney General's level. I was then forwarded to speak with the principal chief because they had recommended that I be reinstated as sergeant. And before I could get my meeting with the principal chief, I was terminated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Scott. Any other questions from council?
Speaker Adam Jones.
Go ahead, Representative Jones.
Speaker, or Miss Henry, on that termination, you was reinstated through HR, is that correct?
I am unsure. We have had a change with HR, so I'm not sure what my file, I have not looked at my file. I know that, as I said, I did win the grievance at both the HR and the Attorney General, and I do believe that when we had a change, the individual that demoted me and terminated me is no longer there. And so I do believe when we had a change in admin, that HR relooked at my file and may have corrected it, but I have not seen my file.
Okay, thank you, Miss Henry.
Thank you, Representative Jones. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Henry. If you would, just stay online. Immediately following the pre-agenda meeting, we will go into our regular session agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next. It's not on the agenda, but I did have a request from some representatives for the Muskogee Nation Election Board. Do we have anybody present from the election board?
This is Andrea James. I'm here.
Thank you, Ms. James. National Council, we do have a election board member. Do you have any questions?
Speaker.
Just a second, Representative McHenry.
I would just like to ask, could you just kind of help us out what is going on as of this point right now with the election? a generalization, please.
We have looked at the ballots that have come in late, and there is, at this point, there's over 1,000 ballots that have come in late. They have postmarked dates as far back as the 3rd of September, but they did not get into our postal box until this week. So at this time, that's our biggest concern, is the number of ballots that are sitting there that were postmarked early in the month that were not received by the cutoff date on the 18th at 11 a.m.
Go ahead, you said.
So with that, now what is the process moving forward gonna be?
Well, we can't do anything. Legislation mandates that the cutoff date was at that time. We would just like to, in the future and possibly in the near future, discuss what do we do with this number of ballots and this number of citizens that didn't get their vote counted, not because the election board didn't count them, but because they were not received through the postal system in a timely manner. We also have, I'm sorry, we also have 2 petitions at this time. We have one from Representative Jones, and that I believe is addressing the board members that possibly voted at they voted at the Okmulgee precinct when they realized that their votes had not been counted through absentee. So they realized that these votes were not coming in, and they executed their right to go over and vote in a challenge vote. The other one was for a recount. And that was by Lanessa Melton, I believe.
Speaker. Thank you, Ms. James. Secretary Proctor, did you have something? I don't know who was asking earlier. Go ahead, Secretary Speaker.
Yeah, this was kind of the same thing. I just wanted them, the board to be in today. That way we could ask questions, you know, and if they could, as Representative McHenry said, let us know, you know, what's been going on. Just kind of what the good points and bad points were. And now that this is first I've heard of receiving ballots late that was postmarked early. You know, I think that's not fair to the citizens who have casted their absentees and not to be counted. Something, I don't know what can be done, honestly. But I just appreciate Ms. James being here and speaking with us today. I was hoping that all the board would be here for us so we could ask questions, but that was all I was wanting, is give everybody an opportunity to ask their questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Speaker. Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Ms. James, Lucian Tiger.
Yes.
Could you repeat what you were just stated a minute ago about voting? Some members you said voted late.
They voted, it was before 7 p.m., but they realized, as we had already got all the absentee ballots processed as far as checking signatures and checking them into the system, they realized that their ballots had not gone through. So once they realized that their ballots had not gone through, they went over and they cast their vote.
Thank you, Ms. James, because I had heard that, but had not heard any confirmation on that. And MCNCA 7-303 states, if a registered voter has requested an absentee ballot, he or she shall be required by the judge to sign an affidavit swearing or affirming that he or she has not cast an absentee ballot. And
Correct.
is entitled to vote in person.
I'm sorry. Yes, correct.
Yes,
and they did that.
I did that. This is Ms. Tiger. I did sign the affidavit.
But Ms. James?
Yes.
But it says he or she has not cast an absentee ballot. Therefore, if
Right.
you received an absentee ballot and you did send it in, you or whoever else did it actually received the ballot and should have been able to sign the affidavit and vote, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And they did, to my knowledge, they did sign the affidavit.
Yes.
Right, I understand the affidavit was signed, but it's clear, it says, has not cast an absentee ballot. But what you're saying is, whoever voted realized that their ballot had not came in, correct?
Correct. It had not. So if their challenge vote would have been accepted and processed into the system, when their absentee ballot came in, it could not be counted.
Because Ms. James, again, I want to read this again. This is clear. It says, he or she has not cast an absentee ballot. That means you did not, whoever did it, did not send in an absentee ballot. It doesn't say that if you have knowledge it didn't show up. It clearly states, he or she has not cast an absentee ballot. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Just real quick, who is phone number 539-286-4176?
Eugenia Tiger.
Okay, thank you. And 918-758-6033.
This is Aaron Saltzman.
What was that name?
Aaron Saltzman.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Tiger or Ms. James? I think they're the only two board members present.
Speaker Willowe.
Go ahead, Representative Lowe.
Hello, Speaker. I don't have a general question for either. I just have a comment. You know, I think there's got to be a better way for elected officials to find out that there's petitions in place instead of finding out on Facebook. Because I received a lot of calls after this, but one of the petitions was posted on Facebook and was asked, why didn't I know anything about this? So just in the future, hopefully we can have a better way to communicate these to all the elected officials, sir.
Thank you, Representative Lowe.
I think too that when we received those documents for the court and Supreme Court.
Hang on. Who's speaking?
This is Eugenia.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Tiger. I'm sorry.
I think when we received those documents, we were right at the limit at 5 o'clock in order to get all that information out. And we tried to make sure that we made a statement that we're trying to find a resolution to deal with this election process. And right now we're just going by the law, what the law states, and possibly the postal system was not our fault, but we're trying to make sure that we can try to get a solution done so the count can be counted. But right now we don't have that, and because we are going by the law that states in our code. So if there's some way or somehow that, a short legislation can come through for us, we would be so glad to count all those votes. Because we don't want nobody not to vote. But we, as far as, the date, postmarks and everything that we had looked at, they were earlier in the month, and so the postal system didn't get it to us.
All right. Thank you, Ms.
And
Tiger.
that's what we're looking at, is a resolution to see what we can do. And in the long term, we need to have another process to go through in order to make sure that this possibly cannot happen again.
Thank you, Ms. Tiger. Any other discussion, comments from council?
Speaker, this is Joyce. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Representative Deere.
Thank you. Was Okmulgee the only precinct where there was a change in the location of the voting site? To my knowledge, this is Andrea James, and yes, to my knowledge, that was the only one. And what had happened is we had used the dome. They told us that the dome was in use on Saturday, and we were struggling to find a place. We got a place, from what I understood, that was confirmed on Friday afternoon at almost 5 p.m. before the election. You didn't know about that already? I mean, this is an election that's coming up. It would seem that you would be notified of that. And were the voters notified of that change? Because I heard comments that they couldn't find the location to vote, where to vote. It was put out on Facebook. It was put out on some other places, and I cannot remember because I wasn't present that day. I had to work. So it's probably a better question for another member that was there. But I do know that it was put out on Facebook. I know that there were signs put out for the voting. But I'm just going back to what I understood was that we had trouble ensuring a place because the college wouldn't allow us. The Dome said they were booked on Saturday. And so to actually get it confirmed that that's the building that we could be in, that didn't happen until later. Anybody else have a comment from the election board? And you understand that everybody doesn't have access to Facebook. I do. And I believe that there were other ways it was put out. But at this time, I was just, like I said, I wasn't there. I did hear some things said that how it was put out, but I wasn't present. Thank you, Mr. James. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Deere. Mr. Harjo, are you online?
He said he just lost audio.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Harjo, I don't know if you heard Representative Deere's question or not. It was directed toward the board members, but I thought I'd give you some time to answer if you'd like.
What was the question?
Ms. Deere, would you repeat your question?
Well, first I asked if the Okmulgee precinct was the only voting site that was changed from the original voters precinct. And then I asked if people were notified of that change, because I heard a lot of comments that nobody knew where to vote Saturday. And she just made the comment, Ms. James made the comment that y'all were only notified Friday evening that the dome would be in use and that you couldn't have a voting precinct there. Why is that?
Oh, no, it wasn't decided that Friday evening. This was decided like about probably over a month ago, and we did put it on Facebook. I think the only confusion was that was unintentionally caused was whenever we had posted signs over at the community center that we had early voting at the Dome, and those signs were left over there on the community center. People were still going over to the Dome to try to vote, and then we had to redirect them to the safe space facility. So we went over there and to replace those postings that were on the community center door to show them that it was at the safe space facility.
I had heard comments that there were no signs and that people couldn't find the location where to vote. So there was nobody at the
well, I don't know who's, everybody has a lot of comments that they always say, but we did have signs out there on the road that said vote here, and that there was signage on the community center that said where the early voting was. And when we realized that
we needed to get that to reflect the election day. We went over there and changed those signs out so that way people knew where to go to the safe space facility.
Thank you, Mr. Harjo. Thank you, Representative Deere. Mr. Harjo, or any board member, just one of the things that I heard as far as another site changing for voting location was Yardika. Was it actually changed to Ralph School? Is that true? Not true?
That's been that way since 2017.
Okay. Like I said, I'm just sharing something that was brought to my attention or that was asked, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments or questions?
Speaker Robert Huff.
Go ahead, Mr. Huff.
Yeah. Have we had this many ballots turned in after the election day in previous years?
No, not to this amount. In the past, we've had a couple, I would say around 300 altogether. When I say 300 altogether, I'm talking about like several weeks later that they come in, you know, like maybe 2 or 3 at a time, you know, when we go to check the post office, but never this amount this soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Huff. Any other comments, questions from council?
Speaker Willowe.
Go ahead, Representative Lowe.
I'd keep harping on the dome change vote place, but Mr. Harjo, were there signs on the dome that said to vote at the safe space the election day?
At the dome itself, I am, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if we did or not on the dome itself. I think our main concern was the community center since that's where it had been in years past. So I'll be honest with you, I do not remember if we had put the signs on the dome itself.
No, sir. No, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lowe.
Speaker, I have another question.
State your name, please. I'm sorry.
This is Joyce.
Okay, go ahead, Representative.
Nelson. Man, I forgot my question. Oh, okay. We just heard earlier about the precinct workers who went to vote because they didn't see their ballots coming in. Are there 2 sets of rules for the workers, precinct workers, and then the watchers? Are they separate?
I'm not aware about the workers. I do know that from what I understood, it was about the board members that were doing that.
So if they're in that area where precinct workers are, can they just come and go as they please?
Once again, are you talking about the workers or the board members?
Whoever it was, whoever was coming and going. Because there was workers that say there was people,
the board members?
whether they were board members or whether they were precinct workers that were coming and going.
I don't know about the precinct workers. I didn't see anything like that happening myself. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know what you're asking on that part, but I mean, to talk about what was mentioned earlier about the board members, I think it was after they were done with whatever it is that they were working on, you know, like verifying the signatures and stuff and all that was finished for the day. I think that's whenever they went and did what they did.
So if the board members are in that precinct and where they vote and they don't see their ballots, they see every ballot that comes in that day to certify it. Is that what you're saying?
The board members, whenever they do the verification process for the signatures, that's actually the absentee workers that are doing that process. And they're the ones that are verifying the signatures, and they're the ones that are, saying that these ballots are acceptable based on, the signature examination process. Then after that's done, we got them up, bundled them, got them period again, so that way on election day, they could actually be counted. So, I don't actually, to be honest with you, recall exactly what was exactly said to those particular board members. I don't know if they were just outright told we didn't see your ballot or whatever, but I don't know if the board members just got antsy or something. I don't know, but they went and cast challenge votes, I guess, at one of the early voting sites, just to make sure that at least one of, their vote gets counted. I mean, that's what they did.
Okay, when I asked about 2 sets of rules, there was a watcher in Muskogee. She was told not to use her phone, and she sat there all morning and watched the workers, the precinct workers, on their phones, constantly on their phones.
Yeah, I remember you calling me Wednesday about this and asking me these things. I thought we had already discussed this, but I will explain this again to you, that the workers were instructed to give the same rules to all of the voting locations, and if those workers misunderstood the rule for whatever reason and how they applied it that day as far as the cell phones and stuff were concerned, we would make sure that during this next election that rule, is very clear on what would be, an acceptable use of a phone during those hours and what would not be an acceptable use.
So are you saying that was okay or not okay?
I think just to recall our discussions we had on Wednesday, Ms. Deere, that we said that it probably shouldn't have happened exactly like the precinct worker was stating, and that will be corrected.
Okay, well, I didn't get an answer when I told you Wednesday. You said you'd have to look into it because you didn't understand that happened.
Yeah, I said I didn't understand that happened, and if it did, well, then we would probably have to change that and make sure we reinforce that rules.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you, Speaker.
Yep.
Thank you, Representative Deere. Thank you, Ms. Harjo. Any other questions or comments? Representative Jennings.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Harjo, you said that change in voting site from the Okmulgee Indian Community Center was announced a month prior to?
That decision was made prior to at least a month, and we put it on our Facebook page, and that's where we had put the announcements, because we put the locations of the polling sites on our Facebook page, and started advertising it that way to get it out there as quick as we could.
My concerns is we have a large marquee right here on the complex, and we also have one right in front of the entrance to the dome. You had plenty of time to put that on those marquees to let people locally that's by there every day to know where they could go vote. People could see that. Most people don't have Facebook. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Jennings. Any other comments, discussion? Representative Lowe, go ahead, sir.
Yes, Nelson, does Muskogee Media help promote all the election sites for you all, or do you all just use Facebook to communicate with citizens?
Well, we do what we can to get the word out there as far as putting it on our, social media pages and putting it on our website. I'll be honest with you. We have, and we do put stuff in the paper. We've been putting stuff in the paper, basically for this past year, just about different things about the election. And it's, I'll be honest with you, it all depends on what, like Muskogee Media or what other, I'll say PR, for example, really just depends on what they feel like helping you out with. I mean, I didn't, get an invitation, to really talk about these things or do any of these things, from either one of those departments. So we just tried to do the best we could in getting the information out there, with just, even announcements in general, that, we are having elections on, and early voting on these days.
Willowe, sir. Willowe, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lowe. Mr. Harjo, just real quick, if you have any information that you like your voting site or anything, please share with the National Council. We'll send it out to the full council. And best thing is word of mouth, because I know they go out to the community centers for their community meetings and such.
Yeah, we can do that, definitely, because we are not going to be changing anything between this primary and this general. So yeah, we can definitely get those sent out to, everybody that can help, spread this word.
Thanks, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Harjo or the board members? Representative Jones, and then I'll go to Mr. Jennings. Go ahead, Representative Jones.
Thank you, Speaker. Nelson, I just want to clarify, some of the council ask you questions is so that the full council knows the questions that were asked earlier. Secondly, is that it looked like it was promoted poorly because the even the Muskogee Creek Nation website for the full nation doesn't have on their face page that there was even an election. It's kind of like they have to hunt it down, so, and that's what you and I had talked about the other day, and then as far as marquees and stuff that we have, nothing is there about election. Our citizens didn't even know. And so a lot of the candidates have to go out and really promote the day of the election. And it would be a good thing if the election office / board would put out some type of signage during the day of the election so citizens will know. And even there's a reminder app that would come to our phone that reminds you to vote. Could help the nation even as a reminder to fill out different applications. But that's just my thoughts, and thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jones. Representative Jennings.
Thank you, Speaker. So, Mr. Harjo, on the election board's Facebook page, is campaigning allowed?
On the Facebook page is what was that, sir?
Is campaigning allowed?
On the Facebook page, on our page, is campaigning allowed?
Yes, sir.
No, we usually don't campaign on our Facebook page. We just try to just share announcements and stuff.
Announcements such as?
Oh, this is like, election dates, or, when voter registration or ballot requesting is open and deadlines and stuff like that. But we don't engage in any campaigning or anything like that. At least I have not, posted anything on Facebook, or I haven't seen anything on our Facebook page where we, have done any campaigning for anything.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Jennings. Any other comments or questions from council?
Speaker?
Representative Marshall, go ahead.
Yes. Mr. Harjo, I have a question, and this is kind of going back to where the board members went and voted so they'd make sure that their votes counted. Would your suggestion be to other absentee voters to go and vote in the general election just to make sure that their vote counts in case their ballots are one of those thousands that didn't make it?
Can you repeat that real quick just to make sure that I understood you correctly?
Okay. Would your suggestion be, since you had people who didn't see their names or whatever, and so they went and cast a ballot that was a challenge to vote, would you suggest that the citizens who vote by absentee, that they would go and vote in the general election, go in person just and be a challenged vote just to make sure that their vote counts?
Yeah, everybody. Well, first of all, everybody has that right. I mean, that's, the entirety of the tribe's history of their elections. this law, at least up until back as far as 1999, this law has been in place that if somebody requests an absentee ballot, although they have requested an absentee ballot, if it has not been received by the election board, that they could cast a challenge vote as long as the absentee ballot was not received by the election board, and that challenge vote would then be counted as their official ballot that they had cast. In this election, and to answer your question, what we're going to try to do to offset the failures of the postal system is on the initial absentee ballot packets that we mail out to the voters. On the instruction sheets, we're going to put in emboldened letters that if you request an absentee ballot and you got your absentee ballot in the mail, that you mail it at least 9 to 10 days prior to the election to better ensure that it arrives at 11 a.m. On the day of election at the Omogi post office. And I do think that we're going to have to make a big campaign as far as information campaign before the general to let people know that the Postal Service has been slow. I think, there have been several people, I know on a personal level, and I've spoke with other people that have, experienced, receiving cutoff notices in the mail for different things that they have, for different bills that they're paying through the mail because the mail has been so slow. So we're going to try to do everything we can and put that word out there to let people know that they need to go ahead and mail their ballots back in as soon as they can, instead of holding on to them for 3 or 4 days or 5 days and then, mailing it in, because these postmarks, I don't know if that's something else we need to include in this information, that, the postmarks don't guarantee that your ballot's going to be counted, because even though your ballot might be postmarked on the 9th or the 10th, I'm just using this month as an example, on the 9th or the 10th, even though it might be postmarked on that date, just because it reflects that postmark date, if it's not at the Omogi post office, well, then we can't accept it because it's not there by that election time. So, and that's the issue that we're seeing here, is that people were getting them put in the mail like around the 9th or 10th, sometimes, even I think Ms. James said earlier, I think the 3rd. But they just are now being received at the Omogi post office, like on the 21st, the 22nd, on the 23rd. So that's some of the things that we're going to put in the letter that accompanies everybody's absentee ballot. So that way we can try to offset that. And on the to follow up with your question again, we can always say that if you are not sure that your absentee ballot is going to arrive at the Omogi post office, you can vote as a challenge vote, but based upon your absentee ballot status, whether or not the challenge vote will be accepted or not.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harjo. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Last question, Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Harjo?
Yes, sir.
After listening to your comments, again, I go back to MCNCA 7-303. It states that he or she has not cast an absentee ballot. Is the only way you can come in and vote in person. Has not. So therefore, if you have put your ballot in the mail, that means you cast a vote, correct? You filled it out, you filled it out, you send it in, you put it in the mail. You're telling me that doesn't mean you cast a vote?
It's not cast until the board counts it.
Thank you, Mr. Harjo.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Thank you, Mr. Harjo. Thank you, Mr. Harjo, Ms. Tiger, and Ms. James for calling in this morning. Appreciate it. Moving down, we We are down, or that concludes the order of business. We're down to announcements. Regular session will begin, we'll say 10 o'clock. It's 9:50, so we'll just go ahead and start at 10 o'clock. Give us a 10-minute recess. Any other announcements from council? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn. Representative Jennings made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Tiger. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned 9:51.